And good morning. Let me get one more thing set up here. And is this working? Yes, it appears to be working. Let me fix one last thing. Restream appeared to have logged me out, so let me get chat working here. If I can figure this out. It has been one of those mornings. Okay, I believe chat is up. Holy cow. Actually, I should save that. I tried to get this set up and I walked away, came back to my desktop, and it was streaming. And I have to click 50 buttons just to get set up for streaming and activate it. And I am positive I did not click those buttons, yet somehow, I don't know. It was streaming when I sat down at my desk, and those who listened to it would hear me blowing my nose into a Kleenex. So it was quite strange. But anyway, with that, let me get some coffee here. And now, holy cow. That is a holy cow. Wow. I got a vaccine shot last Wednesday, and I wasn't feeling great at the time, I will admit. So it may not have been the brightest move to get a vaccine when I wasn't feeling 100%, but it was a clinic organized by my city. It was super convenient. I was able to make an appointment, no issues, lots of times, no dealing with the drugstore websites and all this other mess. So I just wanted to get it over with. So it was no big deal, very well run, super slick. Sore arm that first night, Wednesday night. I was a little tired, like no big deal. Thursday, Friday, I had some symptoms, didn't feel great, but I powered through it. I even did a live stream with Luke late last week on Thursday, I believe, and thought, oh, okay, and then Saturday and Sunday I rested, wasn't feeling great, but no big deal. Then on Monday of this week, I think, I woke up and I was trashed, just massive body aches, exhausted. It just hammered me. And I have been in bed every day this week, the entire week. And this is the first day that I've been able to sit at my desk. And whoa, it wiped me out. So, and this is pretty typical of me and my immune system, something that would last 1 or 2 days for a normal person. My immune system says, hey, let's stretch this out. Let's milk this for every ounce it's worth. So I, I have been useless this week. So this is my recovery party. First time I've been able to function all week. So I think I'm going to order this sticker. It's a vinyl sticker available from some sticker website. So I think that might be an appropriate sticker for me. So anyway, I hope everyone else is doing okay and you've had much more tolerable symptoms than I. One of the things that I've been that has gotten me through my suffering has been this. I had the audiobook, but fantastic book, Liftoff, about SpaceX. And I'm very interested in SpaceX and what they're doing and all the. I'm not an expert, but I find the technical details just fascinating. And this is a unbelievable tale of the hardships and just brutal, just setbacks and problems and challenges and things that the early SpaceX folks overcame in order to send a rocket up to space. It is a phenomenal story. So if you're into that sort of thing, just amazing that the company exists. They just barely survived, and to become what they are today is just remarkable. Okay, so on to the relevant Business Central topic. And as you saw from my tweet of this and the title of this live stream, functional. And I don't know if there's a better word, but this is the word I use: functional versus technical. So you have the functional ERP consultant. They deal with the installation or configuration, depending on what environment you're in. In the SaaS world, it would just primarily be configuration, data load, getting the settings set up properly, training users, working through things like how to process transactions, how to format the invoice and get the logo on there, and dealing with purchase orders, inventory, all the application functionality side of things. And then there are the technical people, people who deal with, say, the backend, the database, the queries. On-prem would be configuration, installation, things like that. In the SaaS world, in the BC world, it's more on the dev side. So you got the Docker containers, the AL language, VS Code, programming, report modifications, APIs, that type of thing. That's the technical. And often we speak of these things as two different worlds. Are you functional or are you technical? And you can see this, I see it in the MVP world. We have lots of Business Central technical MVPs. We only have a few functional MVPs, and they tend to be in two different worlds. However, and I could be completely wrong, in my experience, the functional consultants in the ERP world tend to be functional. Occasionally, there is a functional consultant who has some technical understanding. Maybe in the SQL world, they could write queries or understand SQL Server, create some reports, things like that. But they tended to not venture into coding, maybe a little scripting and copying and pasting certain sample scripts and modifying them. But generally, you had functional consultants, then you have technical consultants. However, I think other technical consultants, it is hard to be just technical. I think there are some consultants who can be just functional because there's plenty of work to do that is just functional. However, on the technical side, one of the problems that I run into is, hey, can you customize X, or can you write an integration for Y? And that's great. I can do that, but without understanding the functional side of that request, you can be very lost. And I've seen this a lot of times when, say, a partner is outsourced or offshored a technical project, they'll hand it over to the developer, and I look at the code and I can tell right away. This developer knew the development side of things. They knew the programming language. They knew technical details of how to program, say, in .NET. But they clearly did not understand the functional aspects of an ERP system, or even just fundamentals of an ERP system. They didn't understand a debit and credit, which you can tell right away. They're debiting and crediting the same account. Like that, it's a clear sign that something was very wrong, right? Or they didn't understand that when you have, say, an invoice, the debit and credit goes one way. And when you have a credit memo, the debit and credit is often reversed. So you can just see that instantly in the code when the technical person or developer may not have understood the functional components. So with that long diatribe, I have worked in the Dynamics GP world for many years, and I started on the functional side. Even though my background is technical, I started working with the functional side in implementations and consulting and support and all of the full range of processes. But I was also doing technical things and learning the technical stuff on the side or in addition to the functional things. And I started doing development in GP, customizations, integrations, scripting, modified reports, workarounds, technical support, and SQL and all that. And so I had both of those worlds, very well handled. In the BC, as I'm learning BC, there's just so much to learn. So I decided to start on the technical side. Technical world, entering into BC is an entire universe of knowledge. There's a lot of stuff to learn. And so I just couldn't learn both. I just didn't have the time because this is all for me, part-time nights and weekends coming up to speed because I'm still supporting an entire another job during the day. So I've been learning technical on nights and weekends and part-time. But I'm at the point, I think, where I'm starting to, I have the fundamentals, the basics of AL development, just enough to kind of start to do the work. And I'm finally at a point where it's like, okay, I can code this, but I'm now running into the issues where I don't fully understand, or I'm not comfortable enough to understand the functional side of things. And I'm having limitations there. So I'm now seeing that it's like, okay, great. I can do Docker containers. I can do enough PowerShell to get me by. I can use VS Code. I can write a little AL. I kind of know how to navigate and know what I don't know around AL. So now I'm seeing, okay, I'm starting to run into my functional limitations, and that's starting to become a problem. So now I need to start to ramp up on the functional side. So here we have the Venn diagram of functional and technical. And as I mentioned, it's often like, are you functional? Are you technical? We tend to categorize people or silo them based on these words, at least in my experience. But I have found that as a technical person, I need to have both. I need to be fairly competent on the functional side in order to deliver technical solutions. If I don't understand the functional, I will not be able to deliver a usable solution. I'll deliver something, but it's just not going to work. It's not going to meet the needs of the customer, and it's just going to take, multiple iterations for someone to explain to me why my solution is not satisfactory. So by knowing the functional side and having the technical skills, I can understand the context of what's going on. The customer wants this. I understand how this works, so I can anticipate what they'll need. And so I personally have found that intersection of functional and technical is really, really important. That's where the value comes from. It's not just knowing functional. It's not just knowing technical. It's knowing how these two combine and come together such that when I produce a technical solution in code and produce, say, an extension or customization or integration, I understand the business process that the user is performing on the functional side such that things mesh and I know what they're going to ask for. So that arrow and that Venn diagram intersection, I think, is really, really important. And that's where I think technical people can really add value. By the same token, a functional consultant, you don't need to be a full-on developer, but a functional consultant who understands the background, at least, of the technical side, can also offer value to, say, developers or technical folks by understanding some of the limitations. So they'll ask for something on the functional side, and by understanding, say, how table extension works, or custom tables, or flow fields, or how that a report needs to be modified, and that where the limitations reside and where the developer is going to come in and how to communicate those requirements to the developer, a functional consultant can also bridge the gap and provide value there. So let's see, a comment from Jeremy. Let's see. Yeah, in the nav world, tended to use the word application. So an application consultant rather than functional consultant. So different terminology depending on where you're coming from. And yes, James Crowder had a Q&A session. I attended that as well. I don't remember if that was a webinar or one of the conference sessions, but he explained that in his organization, they are training new consultants, they're bringing in new employees, and they have formal training in the application of Business Central now Business Central, and they train those people up in a formal training of several weeks. And a couple people have mentioned they've done the same, and until that person is competent in the application, they don't bother having them code or do anything technical. I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, you got to start somewhere. So I started on the technical side, learning Docker and AL and Visual Studio Code. But now it's like, okay, given my limited time and limited resources, I started there. Now I'm fairly comfortable with that. Now I'm going to start on the functional side. I know I can do both. It's just I need to choose. So. Okay, so with that, that's where I'm going with this. Functional, technical. I've been working on technical so far. I've done the AL for beginners development, starting Business Central development from scratch, which I will try to continue, but I'm now running into the functional constraints where I just don't know the transactions, the processes, the journals, the lingo on the functional side as well. So I'm going to start to dig into that. And with that in mind, coincidentally, with my choice to try and pursue that, Jeremy Vyska has just released his new book, Your First 20 Hours with Business Central. And he has a post about this on his new company website, sparebrained.com. This is his new company to help support businesses that are moving into Business Central, adopting Business Central, developing with Business Central, whether you're a customer or partner or ISV, he helps support your organization in coming up to speed in adopting Business Central. Whoa, I am very tired, so we'll see if I can get through this. And he has created this book very quickly. He banged it out in weeks. And so it is available on gumroad.com. And so you can go to his website or go to this Gumroad link and purchase the electronic copy of the book. And it is roughly 300 pages at this point. And you can see from this sample table of contents, posting groups, fiscal period, number series, module setup. So I'm going to be going through this step by step to just, it's kind of like a learning path or a curriculum to learn the content. And there are many of these. There is MS Learn. There are lots of courses. My BC Resources blog post has several others that are learning resources. So I've had many options to learn this. It's just a matter of it hasn't been priority. So now I'm going to dig into this, and Jeremy's new book is one of those. So I purchased his book. I have the new copy, or I have the copy in PDF, and so I'll be going through that. And Next up, in addition to Jeremy's book, I have owned Erik Hougaard's Business Central Field Guide, I believe since it was published or shortly after it was published. I purchased the electronic copy. Now, he does have a physical copy available, but I purchased the electronic copy, and it is also a downloadable as a Kindle, a Mobi file, several different EPUB, Mobi, and PDF, several different versions. So I have it on my Kindle as well as the PDF, and similar content. I believe his is in the 300 to 400 page category because he has been working on it for several years now. And so far, I have not dug into it from front cover to cover, but I have used it as a reference to look up some things. And similar, it talks about many of the features, functionality, daily operations, and it is oriented more as kind of your manual as you're working through the application, I guess is how you would say it. Like, okay, here's how you do this as part of your daily operations, for instance. So I will be going through his book more cover to cover than just picking out sections here and there as a reference. So that is part of the journey, and probably Jeremy is doing something similar with updates, but Erik's published through LeanPub. So on LeanPub, you will get notifications of updates of the book. So you can see here that he updates it like semi-annually with the wave releases of Business Central. So I'll be digging into those, and that's just part of my new venture to learn the functional or application side of things in Business Central. Time constraints, right? There's so much to learn, but I'm now seeing my limitations on the application side. So I'll be digging in. So those are two resources. Go ahead and check out my blog post, bit.ly/BC resources, I believe. Sorry, still a little out of it, but I'll be discussing this more in the coming weeks and months. And made it. Yeah, have a good weekend. I'm going to probably go back to bed and rest and, take it easy. But hope that was helpful. And congrats to Jeremy on his new book. And thank you to Erik for his constant updates every 6 months. Go ahead and check out both of their books. And with that, have a good one.
Good morning, sun.